Jermaine, good to see you, man.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I grew up an Indians fan, so always watching you. You had your best years with the White Sox. Pissed me off a lot, bro.
I did have some good years against Cleveland.
You did, man. You had a hell of a career, and it was fun to watch. I mean, I can only imagine the feeling of being a professional baseball player and being able to just go out there every day and play that game and get paid to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally it's a lot of hard work, put in. But it's definitely rewarding. It's a daily grind, but you get into your routine and you get out there and play the game you love to play. And fortunately, I was able to win a World Series and win the MVP of the World Series.
Yes, you did.
It's definitely when you look back after being retired, I like to pat myself on the back.
Yeah, man, 2005. It's kind of like this. It was almost this like surprise World Series. The White Sox kind of came out of nowhere. All you guys had career years at the same time and got some big pitching performances out of some of those guys. And what was it? Burley, I guess that was your ace that year, right?
Yeah, Mark Burley.
Yeah. You guys beat the Astros?
We did.
That was when Clemens and Pettit tried to run it back, right?
Yeah. I mean, that playoffs we went 11-1, so it was pretty special ball club. Like you said, we weren't picked to do anything that year. I think we were picked fourth in the division. But we had a bunch of guys that were unselfish. Guys pulled for each other. We didn't have any egos, and Ozzie Guillen kept us loose in the clubhouse, and we had a great run.
What does that look like on a team when guys are truly being selfless? Because I think that is, that chemistry is something, especially with baseball, because it's such a long season. You got to really enjoy being there and pushing for each other. And you got to keep your attention for so long.
Yeah.
What does that look like? A team that has chemistry versus one that maybe does not?
I mean, we just had guys that on any given night can do some things for you that night. And I think when you know that as a player, that you can't be the guy and you can't try to be the guy every night. That takes a lot of pressure off a individual. And we just had from top to bottom in the lineup, speed at the top, power in the middle, and then guys at the bottom of the order that still could do some damage as well. And, when you have good pitching and good defense, that helps and takes a lot of pressure off the pitchers too.
Especially in baseball, it's such a funny sport because if you try to do more, it's going to be a problem, right? The second the pitcher overthrows, he can't find the strike zone. Every time a hitter gets a little over anxious at the plate, like you said, tries to do too much, he's swinging at balls out of the zone, and all of a sudden it's like you're just getting yourself in a slump.
Yeah, I mean, I tell everybody, baseball is a game of failure. I mean, you can fail 7 out of 10 times and still be in the Hall of Fame. What other sport, what other job lets you fail that many times and still let you keep your job? So you got to understand it's a long season. Everybody just wants to try to stay consistent, try to win series, and hope at the end of the year you're right there.
Yeah, I mean, in life in general, I think when people get down sometimes it's hard for them to bounce back. And you had, after a couple of your best years, had a pretty tough year. You had some injuries and some things, but then all of a sudden you got back and had your, the prime of your career.
Yeah.
What did you do to get yourself right mentally, physically, emotionally to be able to come back? Because I think that's a place where a lot of people don't come back from. And so I think that's a cool part of your story. Yeah,
I think you definitely got to believe in yourself, believe in your ability. Know that, you have a little setback mentally. You just got to be in the right frame of mind to push yourself. It's with anything. The little 6 inches between your ears is what really messes people up. And that separates, the professional athlete in sports, the professional businessman with their mindset. You got to be able to take risks sometimes. I mean, even when you have setbacks, you got to still push forward and, get through it. I mean, I like to just say, get through it. At the end of the tunnel, there's the light and the reward, hopefully.
Yeah. as a baseball player, you play in front of huge crowds. Comiskey, you're playing in front of 45,000 people every night. Is it more difficult? Was it more difficult as a player to be in the limelight, or is it more difficult watching? You have two sons now that play defensive back at Kansas and a daughter that rose at Tennessee. You were just telling me about that. What's more difficult, to watch your kids or to when you were playing?
I think to watch the kids. I mean, because I can't do anything.
Right.
I mean, I can kind of see it, and being in the position that they are in, right now, playing in front of this many people on TV and all that. But you can't do anything. You can't go out there and help them. So I think that's tough to watch as a parent. But I tell any kid, my kids, put in the work, prepare, and hopefully the game comes easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You didn't have to deal so much with social media when you played. It was kind of just up and coming, Nobody was really out there on Twitter blasting people every game. It's
Right.
like, it's so tricky nowadays because, like, a defensive back, for example, you're in the Big 12, that's a passing conference. There's going to be some touchdowns scored. And is it, how do you think it affects the younger generation, or have you talked to your kids about that, of how difficult it is not to be able to ignore the noise or anything negative that comes when you're just, it's such you see LeBron James gets at, Kevin Durant, and even like Kevin Durant, doesn't handle it very well. So I can only imagine having kids in college trying to, deal with just what comes with being an athlete in the spotlight.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I mean, they handle it more differently than I would, but I tell them it's a good tool to use to promote yourself, but also it can go the other way too. Mm-hmm. You got to be careful. Think before you push send, or stay out of the looking. And if you have a bad game, don't listen to looking Twitter. Don't look at all that stuff. Watch the Sports Center or anything like that. But it's just it's tough, but it's it's definitely, look what we're doing here. We're on a podcast, and, that wasn't around not that long ago.
Yeah.
So, technology nowadays, it's definitely useful, and, it's hard to, I say, there's no longer reading the newspapers, one click, it can be out there right away. So
yeah, did you you were kind of coming up right as a lot of the analytics were starting. It was like that was your era. How much did that play in versus the old school mentality versus like the new analytics and all that?
Well, I never understood it until I got to Oakland.
Okay,
the Moneyball team.
Yeah, Dave Justice plays you in the movie, right?
Yeah,
no. He plays somebody else. Sorry, he plays Dave Justice.
Yeah, Stephen Bishop.
Yes, yeah. Plays Dave Justice. But you were on that team, right?
Somebody else played me, as a player sitting in my locker and stuff. But I started to understand it then. It's definitely useful in certain ways, but I still think, computers don't understand, if the player got into an argument with his girlfriend or wife the night before, or if he's sick, or that doesn't read into analytics. But I think it definitely helps. But once you get to the playoffs and stuff, that adrenaline and stuff takes over, and kind of analytics, I think, goes out the window. Yeah,
well, you see, that was kind of the thing about the Moneyball teams, right? Is you guys technically never really won a World Series or even got to one during that time frame, and it kind of coincided with you just having a really talented team.
Right.
Guys like Zito and Hudson and Mulder and the pitching staff, and then Tejada and all you guys, you yourself, Johnny Damon, some of these guys that were playing. Yeah. How good was that team versus your White Sox team?
They were totally different. I think in Oakland we were a bunch of guys coming into our own, making a name for ourselves. Kind of the middle of the road guys that have had some good years already, but I think Jason Giambi, he was kind of our ringleader. He kind of rallied us, did dinners on the road. We had fun in the clubhouse. We used to race remote control cars in the stadium on the field and stuff. Compared to Chicago, I think we were more family at that time. A bunch of guys had kids, so we always had the kids in the clubhouse. Ozzie Guillen was all about family first. He doesn't care if we lost 10 in a row. The kids are still going to be in the clubhouse. It's not their fault. So
don't hate your kid.
it's two totally different types of teams, but still at the end of the day, guys pulling on the same end of the rope, no egos, and I think that's the formula you need to win.
Yeah. How important is the manager in baseball? I mean, Ozzie Guillen, did such a good job with your team, but then other players kind of didn't jive with him sometimes. Just he was too hard on him, they thought, or whatever else. And how much did it play a difference for you? Like, because you played on a lot of different teams, and how much of a factor is it, that coach?
Oh, definitely. I think pretty much being able to manage personalities in the clubhouse. Everybody has a different personality. Managers have to understand what motivates each guy, when to kick him in the butt, when to, give him a day off if he need one. I was fortunate enough to have some pretty good managers that have played the game at the highest level, so they understand what players are going through. Ozzie was great at doing that, like especially playing in a big city like Chicago. A lot of media in the clubhouse, a lot of different newspapers. He knew if we were struggling as a team, if you saw him making outbursts in the papers or something like that, that was to put the focus on him, take it off of us, and let us get back on track and start playing again. So, that just comes from playing the game and knowing what, when we're struggling and what we're going through. You
had a home run game, was it either game 4 or 5 of the World Series that clinched it, 1-0. I mean, that was the big hit of the game. And was that the career highlight, or is there a moment that stands out to you?
I got a couple, but my first at bat, I hit a home run in the big league, so that actually is a highlight.
That was the Braves?
Yep, okay. With the Braves. I think the base hit to win the World Series in Game 4.
Game 4.
To clinch us in the 8th inning, that's definitely another highlight. Game 1 of the World Series, hitting a home run first inning against Roger Clemens.
Oh, wow.
That kind of
set the tone, because he'd been blasting people. He'd been really coming through.
I think that set the tone a little bit.
Dude, I'm remembering that World Series. Now, him and Beltran were just like, Carlos Beltran was on fire. He's hit like 8 home runs or something. You guys came in and just destroyed them. Everyone kind of picked the Astros to win that series.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. It's funny when you remember things. It's kind of a funny story that time in my life, I remembered I had just had a company kind of go under, and I had a partner, still a bunch of money. And when people say, what was your rock bottom? I remember watching your World Series as my rock bottom. So like when you were probably at the peak of your life, I was at like the bottom. Isn't that kind of funny? It wasn't that bad of a rock bottom. It was nothing but like, it was a hard time. I remember borrowing money from my sister to get some McDonald's, and
we got to do what we got to do sometimes, but it seems like the little things sometimes get you back on your feet and
for sure. Well, and I always say it's a gift to go to rock bottom, because you kind of realize it's not that bad.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're not afraid to just go for it in life, And as an athlete, I think that's one of the things that stands out of all the athletes that really end up having these amazing careers is you have to have an ability to risk, failure. As a baseball is the perfect example. It's just every time you step in, the odds are you're going to fail.
Exactly.
And so you have to it's just such a good teacher to be able to deal with things not working out.
Well, that's how we learn and get better in life is, you got to learn from your failures. If you don't fail, how are you supposed to get any better?
Yeah.
You don't know any better.
That's true. Who was your favorite teammate you ever had? Or maybe one of them. Obviously, it's hard to pick one, but somebody that just changed you a little bit.
I think I have 2. I think Mike Sweeney, play with him in Kansas City. He's one of my most favorite teammates, and then Jim Thome. Play with him in Chicago.
So I'm a Indians fan. Thome is my guy.
He's one of my guys. We used to talk hitting all the time, and he gave me a lot of knowledge about hitting, and so those are 2 guys that I really respect. Then I got my guys like David Justice, who kind of. I got called up to the big leagues because he got hurt in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
So he kind of helped me, showed me the way to be a professional on and off the field.
What was your first year? Was it 96?
96.
Okay. So I was thinking about that because I was right in the heat of all those great Braves teams, right?
Yep.
You guys played the Yankees that year in the World Series. Did you get a chance to play in the World Series that first year?
I did.
Wow. That's pretty cool, man. What was that like? You're just a brand new rookie, and you get, you're playing with this iconic team that, by the way, they beat the Indians the year before. So.
Yeah. It was great. Especially being a rookie, it was myself and Andrew Jones. So you're just still in awe and you're taking it all in that year. So
Jones
you're
had a
just
big
going out
series.
there and play. You're just playing, and then, you get there in the off season and you realize what you just went through as a rookie, and you're like, wow, this is easy. If I could keep doing this every year, but you understand it doesn't happen all the time. So I learned a lot that rookie year. Great pitchings. Maddox, Glavine, Schmaltz, to be able to sit there on the bench and talk to them about what they try to do to get hitters out. I learned a lot that year.
Why was Maddox so hard to hit? I mean, he's probably the best pitcher of the modern era.
Yeah, I mean, he just knew how to hit his spots, change speeds.
Would you rather face someone like Maddox or somebody like Randy Johnson?
Oh, I'd rather face Randy Johnson all
Really?
day. Yeah. Yeah, all the trying to figure out the finesse. I mean, the guy I didn't have that much success off, Jamie Moyer.
Oh, yeah.
He pitched for 5 different, he pitched till he was 50 or
50
something?
yeah, 51. You know, it's funny that you
I still
say
couldn't
that.
figure him out.
I got a buddy. My buddy was actually drafted by the Dodgers in like the 3rd round. He played at AAA is the furthest he got. But I asked him, I said, who's the toughest pitcher you ever faced? He's like, Jamie Moyer. He went 0 for 4 off him.
I get hits in spring training off of him. But he would always look over at me and go, I let you get what hit. So
His ball just dance or what?
He just knows how to change speeds, like a changeup and then a slower changeup,
And just
cutters and all this kind of stuff. So
had you completely baffled in the
Yeah.
batter's box.
Yeah.
Man, how fun is that? What are you, just as far as an athlete goes, what are you most proud of your career, both in and out of baseball?
Just being able to, my longevity, to be able to, I've had a couple of injuries, but for the most part, I've been healthy for most of my career. And, to play multiple years of at least 150 games a year, I mean, that's what I'm most proud of. I feel like I worked hard and did it the right way, stayed out of the media kind of,
Yeah, you were like a quiet assassin, bro.
like a quiet. My example was going out there every day, playing hard, and I wasn't real in the media all the time.
No,
so.
you're one of those guys that was like, I played a lot of fantasy baseball back then. It seemed like whoever had Jermaine Dye won it all because you were just quiet. So you didn't pick you in the 1st or 2nd round, but you ended up with 36 bombs and batted 297 and 140 RBIs. You're like, what the hell? Did you ever consider playing football? I mean, you're obviously a very large man.
did. I played in high school, played quarterback. Could have went on and played college football too, had offers, but baseball has always been my love.
Yeah.
Growing up, played since I was 5 years old.
How hard was it to move on from the game? I mean, it's been your whole identity for so long. How hard was it for you to hang it up?
It's definitely hard. I think having kids made it easier because then my attention went on them with their sports and stuff. And but yeah, the first couple years when you're done, you're like, don't have to be somewhere right now. But
people don't realize how grueling the baseball season is. I mean, you got a game at 6 p.m. You're getting to the field at what, 11?
1. Yeah, like 1 o'clock.
And you're just, going through the whole routine, the
Yep.
stretching, the taping, and just hours and hours, right?
Long season.
Did you ever have times when you didn't enjoy it?
Usually when you're struggling, like anything, right? No, I always loved it.
Cool.
Especially, you may not like it because you're struggling or something, but then when you get in between the lines, it's just like you just go out there and react and play and enjoy it.
How do you feel the game's changed since when you played to today? I mean, it hasn't been that long, obviously, but do you feel like there's any major differences? I mean, obviously, you got a lot of the shifts and things like that. The salaries have really shot up, in some of these more high-end salaries, at least, guys like Shohei and stuff.
Well, it's all the salaries have always been going up. Even when I played,
That's true.
Our salaries were higher than the ones before us. I think, I kind of like the changes of the time clock and all that to kind of speed up the game a little bit. The analytics part of it, I think.
Would have the shift hurt you if they were doing it more back then? Or did you hit it pretty,
No,
you sprayed it pretty good?
I was pretty spread out.
Yeah.
I just think, it's still America's pastime, a game, right? The game is fun, but sometimes it could get a little long. Now they've changed some things.
Yeah.
Not a fan of the put the runner on second base.
Yeah, the extra innings stuff.
Kind of you play all the game for somebody to just be on second base and then get them in.
That's hit a grounder to second, a fly ball, sac fly, and you lose the game. You know.
But I understand.
You're trying to save the pitchers and stuff.
Save the pitchers. Fans don't want them there for 5 hours, but
yeah. Well, and obviously being a baseball player, you have so much influence after the game. I mean, you've really been able to, you're doing some charity stuff this weekend. And how do you decide where to put your time and attention now?
Well, I think playing in the charity golf tournaments and stuff, you develop relationships. I grew up, in the Boys and Girls Club, so I'm a big fan of anything with to do with kids and stuff like that. That was my charity in baseball, Boys and Girls Club. Now I do a charity event, golf tournament in Chicago called Fresh Start Caring for Kids. So we're coming up on our 10th year of me hosting it and doing it. But you meet all the different celebrities from other sports and stuff, and we become friends, and then we support each other. That's kind of how it is in the charity world.
The post-athlete era.
You go to my tournament, I go to yours, and that's kind of how.
Did you have a specific mentor, or who did you look up to as a kid?
I didn't have a specific mentor. Obviously my parents, it was my sister and I, they kind of raised us the right way, and hard work. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad drove the bus in San Francisco for 30 years. So he was my coach growing up pretty much. And then my mom got us to all the practices and stuff. And, I didn't really have someone I really looked up to.
That must have been pretty rewarding, though, to when you got your first big contract, to be able to, your parents' hard work paid off for you.
Yeah, definitely. That's the goal, to be able to take care of your family and enjoy the fruits of your labor.
When you got that big contract, was there anything that you wanted to just I got to buy this one thing, something just totally reckless?
No, I didn't do anything crazy. I think I bought a Ford Explorer or something right out the gate.
Crazy.
But, being able to be raised the right way, and, I always knew to, make sure you get a house first, establish where you're going to be, and then, do some fun things. But
yeah. Did you watch a lot of, it sounds like you did it the right way. Was it, a lot of players, I guess more so in football and basketball, but they really end up squandering a lot of that money that comes in. And it seems like baseball players do a better job of making sure they get the right people around them to handle and help and make sure that they, set themselves up for the future.
Well, it's hard to say. Everybody has their different lives that they go through and their situations of how they've grown up. I think baseball does a good job because they had a minor league, so be able to
that's true. You don't
have
thrown
that
in
structure.
As quick.
You don't get all this money up front. Everybody goes through minor leagues where you're not making much money, so you understand how to budget and all that. Other sports, I think, coming out of college, you can go right into a bunch of lump sum of money.
That makes sense why maybe it's a little bit more that way.
Could be a little bit different.
You find yourself in, Butte, Montana or something. It's pretty easy to stay humble. What was your signing bonus coming out of when you signed?
17,000.
17,000. What round were you drafted?
I was 17th round pick.
Okay. Wow.
So I had 17,000 with 3 years of college left, and back then was a little bit different.
You bet on yourself though, because you left college.
I bet on myself. I got drafted out of high school. I didn't sign because in baseball, if you go to a D1 college, you got to stay there 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
So I said, I just needed maybe a year of getting bigger, stronger, faster. So I went to junior college for 1 year, got drafted again, and then I was in the big leagues in 2.5 years.
Wow.
So
how hard was it to be in the minors and going around on the buses?
It wasn't too bad. Yeah. We didn't know any better.
Yeah, you were only there 2.5 years too, I guess.
I wasn't there too long. I played in some good leagues where you really wasn't on the bus too long. I guess Double A in Greenville, South Carolina, we rode some long bus rides, but it was fine.
Yeah, you're hanging out with a bunch of dudes. What and last question, whatever. But have you ever thought about getting back into the game, either as a broadcaster or a coach?
Yeah, I've had some opportunities. My whole thing was I wanted to make sure I got my kids into college and watched them a little bit in their sports and what they're doing. I was gone for so long, so I felt like it was time for me to just be with them and do that. But I had some opportunities to do some stuff in which I may look into after this year.
Yeah,
maybe doing something.
What year are your kids at Kansas?
They both have 2 years left of eligibility.
Okay. And then your daughter?
My daughter's a sophomore.
Sophomore. So you got a couple of years we get to watch it.
Couple years, yep.
These are going to be some of the best years of your life, man.
I know, right?
That's good. Well, thank you. Appreciate you, Jermaine, and thanks for coming on. And it's a pleasure. It was a pleasure to watch you, and always fun to sit down and jam it.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.